Come on. All right. You're going to wake Brit Hume. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Yeah, so yesterday was National Beer Day, which means today is How Do I Get Lizzo Out of My Bed Day. Let's use a new picture, huh? The Supreme Court has cleared the way for Venezuelan deportations to resume. Now, how will the squad get laid? Meanwhile, J.D. Vance hosted his mom at the White House to celebrate her 10 years of sobriety. I'll drink to that, said one woman. Donald Trump met with the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers at the White House, where Trump used the opportunity to deport Shohei Ohtani. I don't even know if I said that right.
Pretty good enough.
As countries rush to deal with Trump's new tariff plan, President Trump had a phone call with Japan's prime minister, who's sending a top team to negotiate. I wonder who they could be. Many Americans are now choosing their physicians based on politics, and ditto for their embalmers. According to a new book, Kamala Harris was completely shocked by her election night loss to Donald Trump. It reminded her of 3 years earlier when she was shocked to find out she was black. What? Paramount has dropped the trailer for Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. In this franchise finale, the 62-year-old Tom Cruise takes on his toughest assignment, finding the nearest men's room. And finally, an Alaska zoo is using their grizzlies to see if a brand of trash bins is bear resistant. But they're quick to add that the containers should be further tested against truly ravenous beasts. Empathy. Everybody thinks they have it. For example, you're probably sitting there right now imagining how it feels to be me. Successful, handsome, glutes like coiled steel. But studies have shown that conservatives are very familiar with what liberals think and believe, but liberals neither know nor care about our feelings and opinions. For instance, I feel terrible for Paul Pelosi for having to have sex with his wife. So it's no surprise that a new study suggests that conservatives are also more empathetic than liberals. According to SciPost, participants consistently showed lower empathy for political out-group members than for in-group or neutral targets. Liberals exhibited significantly less empathy for conservatives than conservatives showed for libs. In other words, libs were empathetic, but only towards other libs. If a conservative was inconvenienced or in pain, the libs didn't care. Now, I'm sure there are a few liberals out there watching thinking, this is a bunch of crap. I'm very empathetic. After all, I'm not some fascist. And when I get in power, I'll put anyone who disagrees with me in camps. So for the libs, here's a little challenge for you. Let me throw out a name, Brian Thompson. Does that trigger any empathy? No. All right, how about this name, Luigi Mangione? Yeah, you know that guy, don't you? You've probably written him fan mail. And those nudes he got from Taylor Lorenz were probably worse than the death penalty. Why do you know and love Luigi so much? Well, for allegedly murdering a man named Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, a symbol of the evil healthcare industry, which I thought Obama fixed with the Affordable Care Act, the biggest misnomer since Leah Thomas. But Brian Thompson isn't part of your tribe, so that gives you permission to dehumanize him. Meanwhile, as libs congratulate themselves on their empathy, a new study finds that 55% of leftists agree that killing Donald Trump would be justifiable. I'm really surprised by your reaction. Apparently, this assassination culture isn't just rising among the left, but it's becoming acceptable. Take a look at the left's current battalion wreaking havoc on Tesla dealerships and ramping up violent rhetoric against Musk. But if a group of people are incapable of empathy, it's no shock that they'd be capable of savagery. The scariest people are those who believe your suffering is part of their greater good. They're the ones who end up part of larger acts of brutality, whether it's following BLM, Antifa, Charles Manson, Joseph Stalin, or the king of the lizard people. And they attract people to these resentment-driven causes because it alleviates their own personal sense of meaninglessness. If life is an empty bucket, it's just easier to fill it with rage than hard work. Rather than fix the root cause of their unhappiness, they pawn it off on anyone who might oppose their warped worldview. If you didn't wear a useless mask during the pandemic, they openly wished you dead. They marched on behalf of Hamas, a terror group that recently butchered 1,000 Jews. And if you own a Tesla in 2025, suddenly you're evil, even if you voted for Kamala. I guess it wasn't about the environment after all. So not only are they violent, but they're full of on top of it. Now, there are dozens of examples, but this show's only an hour. But to libs, it's all okay because they see themselves as the good guys. But that's like Whoopi looking in the mirror and seeing Halle Berry. Underneath it all is a profound distortion of what it means to be human. They erased the lines between personal and political. Suddenly, wearing a red hat meant you could be hunted. Meanwhile, they made who you slept with a moral virtue and the color of your skin a marker of superior righteousness. And that chipped away at what it meant to be really human. The human race became a club, one you had to fill out an application for. And if you don't tick the right boxes, you aren't just banned from the club, they'll come looking for you with a club. Which is all these leftists really have. Lucky for us, they can't stand the Second Amendment, since ultimately the best tool at keeping the peace is having one. Let's go! Tonight's guest! He's the reason millions of Americans sleep in. Host of Fox and Friends and One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. He looks like the personal trainer who gave your wife a UTI. Comedian Jeff Dye. She talks faster than a coked-up pastor. Co-host of Outnumbered And he has a walk-in belly button. New York Times best-selling author, comedian, former NBA world champion tyrant. Brian, it must be hard for people to empathize with you.
Right. I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, you're unsympathetic.
Right.
You're lonely. You're painful. You're homely.
That's the last time I talked to you in private. And you would tell everybody all my secrets.
Do you think that whenever you ask people why they justify violence, they will always say because Trump untethered will just cause more violence. So, his suffering is worth it.
Well, it's not just Trump. I remember Bush, too. They said the same thing. Well, he's a Nazi and he's Hitler. And they said the same thing about a lot of Republicans. And I thought to myself, this study, although it does make somewhat sense, I'm sure when I research it, I will come up with a different conclusion. However, the study does hold up. Because I'm Googling now like crazy. It's this great search engine. All of you should try. First off, empathy in Democrats. Harold Ford, very mean guy.
Yes.
Very selfish, very self-centered. He is the exception. But Jimmy Kimmel, for example, says all unvaccinated people should die. Howard Stern says he hates Trump voters and says they are stupid. Alec Baldwin, supporters of Donald Trump, are responsible for the moral collapse of the country, and Americans are uninformed to reality. They don't really know what's going on. That's how people label Trump supporters, and I just think that they really believe that they are dealing with half the country that's not worthy of being in their country. And I think it's a scary situation.
All that Googling for such a mediocre point.
Right. I thought I helped the show.
Yeah,
Jeff. Coming on, B. Thanks for coming on.
Jeff, Brian's making a good point. But it's interesting to me that, okay, so they label us. I feel like we don't really label them. We feel bad for them because we sense that there's some kind of emptiness going on, that it's not about politics, it's something missing.
Yeah, conservatives pray for them, or we roll our eyes, or we ignore them, or we're often kind of insensitive on a tweet. Yeah. We don't want to hurt them. No one's trying to bash them or beat them up. It's very strange. You've got they think it's okay to be violent is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Like Bill Burr's going around going, "Free Luigi," and then being like, "But I'm not political." It's like that. You said it's okay to murder. Right. Our healthcare's not perfect, but you can't support murder. I think it goes back to like in school. We've taught people that it's okay to we're so contrarian now that it's like we teach haves and have-nots. So when they learn that, they go, kill the haves and support the have-nots. Or oppressor oppressed. Kill the oppressor, kill the oppressed. But it's so vague. We got people rooting for Dexter. Oh, well, he kills bad guys. So it's good to be a murderer. Oh, let's root for the Green Witch in Wizard of Oz because she's misunderstood. We blurred it all to where now the libs think violence is the answer.
That's an interesting point. That probably happened in the 60s with when Bonnie and Clyde, when the first anti-hero movies came out, suddenly it was okay to root for the bad guy, and then the bad guy became cool.
Right.
And now it's like, you know what? Natural born killers.
We do it with everything. We're like, oh, Larry David is selfish, and he just wants to be by himself, and he's grumpy, and he hates people. And we go, I hate people, and I'm grumpy. And you go, well, look, why are we rooting for that?
Yeah, and also
he's
really rich, and you're not. So you can be grumpy all you want. You're not going to get a TV show. Emily, it's always good to see you.
Thanks.
Yes.
It's not even April Fool's.
Jeff makes a good point. It's like generally if people on the right are religious, so if something bad, if somebody says something bad, they just go, we're going to pray for you. It's like that's the reaction that you get from the one side versus the other.
In part, I think, too, the study talked about that the judgment and the blessing of violence from the left came from a place of strong moral judgment. And I feel like that it's the judgment that sits with the left, because those on the right who are praying for souls see everyone is God's children. You are worthy of value even if I disagree with you. And remember, we've seen this reflected in all these different polls, like the ones where they say I needed to break up with a partner because of politics. It's always lib breaking up with the conservative, or I can't have Thanksgiving dinner with my family. It's the libs saying that. All of the complete isolation or the civic condemnation came from the left, and it's all because they are superior and unable to even stand the presence because they consider it harmful and immoral. And the thing is that we've seen that reflected this entire time. Look, Kamala Harris was historic, but a Black American senator running for president, that's Uncle Tom. I mean, we saw that from the mouths of people on the left. It's hideous rhetoric that has stoked all of this violence. From the beginning, the Democratic leadership had said, none of this is acceptable, then it would have been nipped in the bud a long time ago. But they pat themselves on the back for compassion. Well, compassion is cruel, because in their compassion, they've allowed all of the people at the border, the historic rapes and murders and the like. But the blood's on their hands. That's the difference.
Tyrus, it's like... That'll help her sleep at night. Tyrus, it's also lazy. You don't have to get to know an issue or anything if you just label somebody.
There's no honor.
Yeah.
There's no respect among thieves, and their leadership is thieves. So every time, the difference between a conservative and a Democrat right now in this particular point in history is the conservative wants to talk about the issues, and they feel they have a good grasp on things, and like, well, I want to do this, and I want lower taxes and this. And the other side is, we're on the wrong side of it. So the only thing we can do is the easiest thing to do is to create a monster. That's why you hear Hitler and not a counter proposal.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. You have no argument. There's a reason. Here's the cold part for them, and the leadership knows this. When you have activists as leadership, when you have a bad pastor who all he cares about is filling the money in the plate, he's going to tell you the locusts are coming. And he's going to tell you that if you don't build the house for God and me to have this Rolex, bad going to happen. And then if something happens, well, it's not me, it's the act of God.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing. They make promises that they know they can't keep, and they continue to rely on the part of a part of this country who just watches, who believes the things on TV are real. When they see an actor, they think that's the guy, how he is in real life, and then they meet him and he's not that way. They They have gotten the people to do the bidding for them. They all sit up there, and they have this new memo came out where they said to cuss. Like Swalwell now says the F word like my kids did when they were 3. It doesn't make sense. It's funny to hear it, but there's nothing to it, and that's the problem. They don't have any substance to their arguments, so what do? They create monsters, and President Trump, they talk about him as a monster. Well, okay, President Trump has been in politics for almost 10 years now, right? About 10 years now. How many camps has he built?
Yeah.
How many people have been suicided from their homes at night? None of this has ever happened, but they continue to do it because they have a small population who will do their bidding for them.
You know what would be great for Trump is if he actually did build camps, but they're like summer camps and
They're fun.
yeah, just
People
fun
wanna
camps.
go.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
No, I was at Trump's camp. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
You got
There's
golden
hiking,
shoes, there was
swimming. If you want to lose some weight, there's a little fat camp.
We golfed a lot.
Yes. He should do a press conference where he goes, I am going, my executive order, I'm making camps. And then he just dropped these huge pictures of these
awesome.
beautiful
balloons, there'll be a carnival and pony rides.
All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.